So my name is Alan Cron. I'm the Superintendent of Schools. We want to thank you for coming out tonight to the community forum. I just want to introduce the gentlemen who are sitting before you. They are from our architectural firm and our project management team. It's Mr. Sean Burke on the end here, Matt Galino, Eric Mulligan, and that's Mr. Richard Penny. And your name again? Oh, Alex Pitkin. And I want to thank them all for being here. We're going to present a little bit about what's going on with the project, the design, and where we are currently with the design, as well as talk about some of the pricing, and then most importantly, get any questions that you may have or feedback from you. So I will turn things over to. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. Again, Alex Pitkin with SMMA Architects for the project. We're going to just do a quick, brief overview, and we can answer any questions later. We've been diligently working on the project for a number of months, and one of the exciting parts about the job at this point is that we get to meet students, and we get to meet teachers and a lot of staff, and of course working with the administration as well, and really set the agenda for the intention of what the school should and can be. And so what you see before you are a couple of floor plans. I think the important takeaways right now is we're still early in schematic design, still sort of churning through a lot of the ideas, is that it's a two-story building. I think that's perfect for the age group. We're talking about a school that's going to consolidate and be a first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade building. So the first and second graders will be on the first floor, and the third and fourth graders will be up on the second floor. It's kind of a perfect arrangement, and I think it's really evidenced by the conversations we've been having with the educators and how they've been thinking about this project all along. During the course of this project, as we've been sort of organizing it, you can see that there are these pod-like arrangements. We're not putting children in these what used to be called egg crates or double-loaded corridors. We're actually thinking a lot differently about how students are educated today, and teachers really work as a team, kind of much more like maybe some of you may be used to seeing your middle school students working together, their teachers working together. And so there'll be these common spaces between each of the classrooms. And that's going to really allow for a lot of interesting, exciting activity and a different sort of way of thinking about how children are educated in the 21st century. So there's also these dark green spaces that you see sort of sprinkled throughout the plan. Those are special needs programs and plans, and those are required to be organized throughout the building. So you kind of keep an eye on those as the plan develops also. There is a courtyard in the middle of the plan. That's something we've been talking about. It'll be a good place that may allow for controlled, secured outdoor classroom space, and also maybe even some outdoor dining. Has really great solar orientation, as the entire plan does. So with that, I'll kind of flick it over to the site plan. And one of the great opportunities I think the town has before it is this notion that the school will replace the existing memorial school here, shown off to the west. We're building on the existing field here between the tennis courts and the existing school. And that's going to be, you know, kind of ideally center located. We're not going to disturb the softball field. Conversations about putting lighting on that field and then increasing some of the site amenities once the old school is removed from the project. So this is really saving the town a lot of money in terms of swing space and kids being able to stay in their current schools as construction is done. During the site planning process and a lot of the conversations we've been having, we actually did a flip. We actually realized that it would make a lot more sense for the cafeteria and the gymnasium to be oriented more towards the west, where there's a little bit more opportunity for playground space that will also serve the community, and then kind of away from the high school, middle school to the east as well. So we think that that's been a good advancement as we've been talking again through the design process. And so these are our current plans. Like I said, they kind of change minute by minute. As Eric here could attest, you know, we kind of evolve these things. Really excellent organization. Every student is going to have really easy access to library media centers, to maker spaces, to art rooms, and to music rooms. So that's really going to be a hallmark of students that have really connected learning opportunities throughout the day and throughout the year. So as I mentioned, we can talk about any of these elements as we move forward. We're also using a lot of powerful new tools today. This is a three-dimensional model that we're actually, building these early schematic plans in. Any of you may have seen some of the plans at town meeting. There are little QR codes on some of the plans that will continue to make those live and accessible. You just take your cell phone and you can actually access the model and kind of, I can't say walk in the space, but you can actually kind of peer into some of these rooms, and we can continue to make that available to the community, to parents, to, teachers, so you can really kind of see the development as we move forward. But here you see that logic of the 4 classrooms, small classroom spaces for breakout, for that small group learning, that one-on-one interaction between teachers and students, or student-to-student learning, and then here's that activity area in the center. Lots of opportunity in these courtyards for, again, more outdoor learning classes. The big hallmark of what we talk about today is that children need to be outside, get a lot of fresh air. It's immediately right at hand. They don't have to cross roads to get to play spaces or to learning spaces. So it's really going to be a very nice, safe, and secure place. Another thing we've been, so here's a look, just sort of one look at those classrooms organized around that central area. And then down on the left-hand corner, sort of an old idea that's become new again, is this idea that we're going to take coats and jackets and wet clothing out of the classroom. And that's going to free up the classrooms to be even better and more focused on learning. And then these are going to be sort of the entry portals into these pods. So we're going to be able to keep a lot of that dirt out of that environment, saves a little bit of space. So we're excited that both the community and MSBA is kind of excited by this idea, sort of an old idea that's been reborn. And lots of time to develop the exteriors. We're just really starting to think about how daylight will enter into those classrooms, an extremely important part of the learning environment, fresh air, as well as just healthy learning environments in general. So we think we've got a really great start on that. You'll see a lot of development on this in the next phase of design, but this is a great start with our current modeling. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, I think. Where's it, Matt?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Galino with PMA Consultants, the Owner's Project Manager, or OPM. Hopefully everybody grabbed a sheet on their way in, or if you don't have one, there's some at the doors. There's a bunch of acronyms on there. We love acronyms, so hopefully this helps clarify that. We use them all the time, so if I go by anything that you're not quite sure of, make sure to ask it at the end. I'm going to focus on MSBA process, really talk about what's happened, how we got to where we are, and the next steps coming up in the near future. We're going to focus on three major components of the MSBA process: the MSBA modules, which I'll come back to in just a second, the MSBA grant program, which Sean is going to discuss in more detail in a few minutes, and then the MSBA monthly submissions. There are 2 major submissions that we do every single month: the OPM monthly report. This is really just a status update to the MSBA. It covers everything from cost to schedule and just overall progress of the project. And then the other monthly report is the ProPay system requests. Essentially, we gather all of the paid invoices from the project, submit them to the MSBA, they review and approve. Once they are approved, they distribute the reimbursement money to the district, and this just allows the reimbursement to flow as the project continues through the whole project. Jumping back to the modules, there are 8 modules in total. They start from the very, very beginning, where you're accepted into the grant system, all the way through project completion. So Module 1 is being accepted into the MSBA grant program. Once the district was accepted into the program, you start to develop your project team that is standing here in front of you today: PMA as your owner's project manager, and SMMA as your designer and architect. Once the design team and project team has been put in place, you jump into Module 3, which is the feasibility study. There are 2 major components of the feasibility study, the first being the preliminary design program, or PDP. This is really fact-finding. It's the first time that SMMA gets their team on the ground, start to go around the town, figure out what sites are available, really just figuring out what is best for the district. That was submitted to the MSBA. They review, their board of directors approves it. Once it's approved, we're able to then proceed into the next major submission in Module 3, which is the Preferred Schematic Report, or PSR. This is really just a continuation of the PDP, refining some of the plans, whittling down any sites that are available, and just starting to narrow down, what is best for the district. At the end of the Preferred Schematic Report, when it's submitted to the MSBA, at that time we have submitted a preferred option, which is what Alex just reviewed. We know where the building is going. We know that it's a combined enrollment for the entire district. So that kind of locks in really what the project is starting to look like. Once the preferred schematic report was approved last month in April, we were able to proceed into schematic design, which is Module 4, which is what we're working on now. Like Alex said, it's a continuation of the drawing. It's really getting into the design now. The schematic design will proceed from now until September 11th, which is our submission date to the MSBA. At that time, the schematic design will be a fairly robust design. We'll be able to determine a more accurate estimate, which is obviously a very key component to the process. And after it is submitted, the MSBA will again review and approve. Once it is approved, we will proceed into the next module, Module 5, which is funding the project. And this will really depend on the passing of the project in town meeting and a town ballot, which is targeting for sometime in November. We're still locking that date down, but after the October 30th MSBA board meeting to approve the schematic design, the district will have 120 days to approve the project, to proceed forward and get into the construction documents and design documents, which will really start to bring the project around. So again, the modules 1, 2, 3 are completed. Module 4, like I said, is ongoing right now. And the deadline for that submission to the MSBA is September 11th, with a board meeting on October 30th. Oh, and Grant, all right.
Thanks. Hello, I'm Sean Burke from PMA Consultants. I'm going to talk a little bit about the MSBA grant program. So the Mass School Building Authority is your partner in this program, both from a design component. They make sure that you are building a building that is appropriately sized and it's built and designed per DESI standards for the kids. They're also going to kick in some money to help you pay for the program. So as part of their grant program, we try to get this information out as early as possible so that people in town understand what the MSBA pays for, what they don't pay for. A lot of the times, this is one of the biggest questions and one of the biggest misrepresentations that we see in the paper. I'm not sure if there's anyone from the newspaper here, but they'll hear a grant number and they'll hear a budget and they'll take the percentage that the MSBA is paying, they'll multiply it by the project budget, and they will report that this is how much the town is going to pay and this is what the MSBA is going to pay. That is actually not the case. There's some nuances to that. So every time we have a presentation, at any point that we can, we try to make sure that people in the town are educated and aware what the MSBA actually pays for and what they don't. So the MSBA will set a maximum grant. You will never get this much money from them. It's pretty much impossible to do because any unspent funds, any money that you don't spend, they're obviously not going to contribute to that. So if you come in under budget, you come in without spending all of your budget, they're not going to hit their maximum facility grant. If your bids differ from your schematic design estimate, if they're over, they don't cover that, but if it's under, they take they participate in that savings as well. And we have yet to have a project that's hit an estimate exactly on. We've had a lot that come in under, some that come in over, but the MSBA doesn't participate in the overage, but they do participate and they'll take the grant away if the project comes in under budget, so therefore you won't hit your maximum grant that's available. Also change orders, as the project progresses, there will be change orders. The MSBA has categories which they pay for, categories which they don't. So as part of that money, some of the change orders will not be reimbursed for, and therefore you won't hit your grant. So for this project, your current base incentive rate is 59.16%. On top of that, we have a maintenance incentive that they've given us 1.67 and a green building program. If you build it to the green building standards of the MSBA, you get an extra 2 points for that, which we are targeting to do for this project. So the adjusted total is 62.83%. So that means the MSBA is going to pay for 62.83% of eligible project costs, not of total project costs. So when we talk about what is an eligible cost, so the construction cost the MSBA currently participates in is $333 per square foot. Anything over this will not be reimbursed. We know, and the MSBA knows, for the most part, $333 a square foot does not build a building, but they are a grant program. So their goal is to spread money around, give it to as many communities and help as many communities as they can. So every year they set this cap. This may go up, and if it does go up before our board meeting on October 30th, we will participate in the extra money that they're giving per square footage. If it doesn't go up, we'll be locked in at that point at the $333 a square foot. And anything over that, they will not be giving you your the percentage grant reimbursement. That will be borne 100% by the district. FF&E technology, this is your furniture, fixtures, equipment, technology, computers. They cap it at $2,400 per student. If you go over that, they don't pay anything over that. So we got to be careful on that budget, and we just have to understand what the district needs. If there's desks and tables and things like that from the other building that are in good shape that we can reuse, we will reuse those. But anything over that cap, they won't pay. Soft costs, which are above 20% of construction costs, they cap. Costs related to the site work that's over 8%, they cap. Basic OPM services are reimbursable up to 3.5%. Design services or basic services are 10%. And the contingency, anything over 1% of construction costs, they do not contribute to. So those are the basic, really the high-level cost caps from the MSBA. There's also a lot of ineligible costs. We don't have to go through all of these, but legal costs are a big one. Costs associated with site acquisitions. If you have to buy a new parcel of land, the MSBA doesn't participate in that. And there are just, so we track these, and when we look at it from a budgetary standpoint, we try to factor all of these in early on so that the districts can understand how much money the MSBA is actually going to give you. So here's just another list of all of the exclusions that the MSBA has. And again, it's not that they're picking on you, it's that they have to set a standard for the grants across the board, and they have to be fair with all the districts, and this is the program that we've entered into and agreed to. So for this project right now, we're looking at a total project budget of $86.92 million. And when we calculate that out with all of the MSBA exclusions, the site cap, the cost per square foot exclusions, we calculated a district share of $49.12 million with an MSBA anticipated maximum grant of $37.8 million, which means that the state, if this project goes forward and Rockland decides to move forward with the project, the state will be giving you almost $38 million to build the school. And this is just, this is MSBA data. They've actually only run their data and provided it through 2017. So the green line that you see on the right side of the screen is the progression that, it's a linear progression straight out through 2021 when we anticipate this project to be built. So the green line would be the average school, and the Rockland cost per square foot right now is about $590 a square foot, but that also includes the demolition of the Jefferson school and building a field in the place of the Jefferson school, which is part of the Article 97 land swap, where we're swapping this land with the Parks Department. The Parks Department gets the Jefferson site after the project's over. All right. So we've also have a Facebook page set up. If you're on Facebook and you haven't followed it, please go up there and follow it. We are going to be posting a lot of information up there. Any community meetings, any building committee meetings will be posted there, so it's an easy resource for you to find information about the project. The slides from this presentation will be posted up there, so if someone couldn't make it tonight and you want to share the presentation with them, it's an opportunity to point them in that direction. Like the site, anytime we send it, you'll be notified when we have new events, and you'll be notified of any new information about the project. If you have questions and you message someone, I get the message and Dr. Cron gets the message. So there'll be multiple resources that'll see the questions you're asking, and we will make sure you get a prompt response to your questions. We also have the Rockland Public School website is also another resource of information. We will periodically link from our Facebook page, so if there's new information that we've uploaded there, we'll put it on Facebook and we can link back to that page as well. We also, I believe all the meeting minutes and agendas are posted up on that site as well. So this is our basic timeline for the project. We're in May 23rd. This is our second community forum we've held. We're also going to be at Rockland Day. We'll have a table there, so if there's other people who couldn't make it tonight that have questions about the project, please send them by. We'd like to see them, and we're excited to be here and excited to spread the word about the project. And then sometime in July, the legislature has to approve the Article 97 land swap. That was voted on in this town meeting in Rockland. From what we've heard, it's more of a formality at this point, so we're hoping that pushes through without any fanfare. And then we're going to have more community forums, one in late July, and then we'll have another one in September when school gets back in session, when people are done with the summer vacations, and we'll hopefully are getting engaged for this project to let them know that the town meeting's coming up and the vote's coming up. And at that point, we're going to have a lot more information about the cost, a little bit closer on the final design, and we'll have just a lot more information to share. So even if you came here tonight, don't be afraid to come back again, because we're going to have a lot more information as the project goes along, and we're here to answer any questions that people have as well. And then this, I think we've already covered most of this, but our schematic, right now we're in schematic design, where the architect is really laying out the building, laying out the classroom, laying out the spaces. That gets submitted to the Mass School Building Authority for review in September. And then at the end of October, there is a board meeting at the Mass School Building Authority where they'll have done their review. We've provided review comments, and the Mass School Building Authority will vote on a budget, and they'll vote for the district to move into the next phase. And at that point, the town needs to vote for the money for the project and fund the project. If the project gets funded, then it will move forward into the next stage of design. And I think that's what we have for tonight. So if there's, we'd love to hear from the public. If there's questions, please come up and ask, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Who's the first one to come on? Hey. State your name and
Sure, Pat Crowley. How you doing? I know it's obviously early in the process, but is there consideration going into the designs around security for the building, kind of everything going on nowadays?
Can we show any of these slides?
Sure.
Can we answer? Can you go back to the one that has the sort of layout, the fan of the... So security's been a huge concern from the start. We've talked about it all the time. Actually, do you go to the one? Yeah, that one right there. That's perfect. So...
There's a pointer on here.
Yeah, so the beauty of this design is that the kids, in answer to your question, yes. In every facet, security has been an issue and been a consideration. But when you look at where the students are going to be housed during the day, they're going to be in these pods. The front of the building, or access to the building, is going to be very carefully controlled. There'll be a multiple access point to get access to where the students are, and there will be shutdown switches that will allow us to lock the school down instantly. So from a safety and security standpoint, I love the design of this building. And that safety and security consideration comes down to the traffic patterns and all aspects of where the building is placed, how it's oriented. But I really like this idea of our kids are going to be in these learning. Now granted, horrible things don't always happen at the best times. But for the majority of the time the students are in school, they'll be in these pods, and we have the ability to lock the building down with the push of a button so that no one could even get access to them. So from a safety and security standpoint, I'm personally very, very comfortable with all of the plans that are in place at this time. I don't know if anyone has anything to add.
Well, I think just on going on to that, the security, that's the function, but it has the added benefit of, since you kind of putting these pods into compartments and you can lock them off. You can open the gym, the auditorium, and other spaces in the building while completely segregating the rest of the classroom. So the building can really be used at all times of the day without anyone being able to wander into the classroom. So it's an added benefit of the security. There are fire doors that are open during the day. You hit a lockdown button, they close, they lock, and it keeps that separation between the outside of the building and the classrooms. Most of the exterior doors are not entry doors. Some of them will even have handles on them or ways to get in. So if someone walks out, they're going to have to walk around the building. But it's controlled entry, making sure that everyone comes through a controlled point. Cameras, all that is incorporated as well.
And we've been working in cooperation with the Rockland Fire Department and the Rockland Police Department now for really through each phase of the project. So they've been working with us, and they will continue to be working with us as we move forward. Any other questions?
Hi. I won't have an elementary school student. Oh, do I have to really lean in? Okay. I won't have an elementary school student. My son's going into middle school next year. But I love everything about the layout of it. Can you talk a little bit more about the green space or the environmental friendly things like solar, or what's going to really get those incentives that MSBA is having?
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'm sure we'll come back with a more consistent list. There's a requirement that the school will be LEED certified and that's constantly evolving and changing, but there'll be lots of things in different categories. Obviously, energy efficiency, saving of water, the access to natural light and daylight. The site component of that is also very important, stormwater management, et cetera, et cetera. So there's about 5 categories that we'll bring another slide at the next community meeting, or maybe at the town fair as well. So I think what you really kind of see is this sense that there's a lot of daylight that's going to be hitting all of those classrooms. I think first and foremost, that's a critical part of our design intention. This courtyard is really bringing daylight right down into the center of the building as well. So we're going to take obvious advantage of that. Right now, the MSBA projects, really the budgets don't allow for the cost of solar panels, let's say. So that's something that we'll be prepared for. We always make sure that our roofs are structurally capable of handling PVs. We know that they're a part of the future energy production for a building like this. So we're anticipating that. If the town gets a grant and they actively are pursuing that, the building will be more than ready for hosting those. And then really paying a lot of attention. There's commissioning that will be part of the project. That's where there's actually a third party that will be a part of our team once again. They're going to oversee all the design of the mechanical equipment, the envelope. So it's a really critical part of making sure that the building is truly robust and meets all of those criteria that are a part of a sustainable building.
Kathleen Fulton. One of the biggest things, I live in the neighborhood, I work here at the middle school, and I think it's in all the schools, is drop off and pick up, the flow of traffic. And I guess the timing, which would be more something that, like the timing of the drop off and pick up between the middle school, the high school, and this huge building, and the traffic around it. Most days there's not enough parking up at the existing, there's some left over at the tennis courts, but I think I'm just more concerned about the drop-off and pickup, because there seems to be issues every town, everywhere you go. I'm just worried about the flow, I guess.
Okay. So I won't speak to the time part of it, but while Alan was walking up here, the idea of this loop road was that we can accommodate and separate buses from autos. We know there'll be a long queuing line for, particularly at pickup. Drop-off, it'll kind of move through, right? Kids will be dropped off and they'll move right into the front of the building. Here's that main entrance that we showed you before. Certainly, intention is to have lots of parking that also then will be very functional and useful for the community when school is out, taking advantage of those locations next to the fields. But I think that separation of the start and stop times is probably one of the most critical parts of this.
Yeah. right now, I think the Memorial Park drop-off is kind of a nightmare. And it's a challenge really just because of the geography of it and access. So, Rich, what's that road called? Yeah, where you're pointing? What's that?
Just the access road?
The access road?
No real name to it.
Yeah, so we anticipate reopening that as part of the project. We anticipate the traffic patterns obviously being studied and organized so that it's, I think I can safely say that it's going to be better than it is right now. Even though we'll have an additional load there, I think the addition of the separate drop-off area for buses, and there'll be a separate drop-off lane for the buses as opposed to the cars. The folks who have worked on projects like this, our design team and our architects, have seen this actually done in other communities, so they have a better idea of how the traffic drop-off and pickup works. But I know that right now, the drop-off and pickup for the Memorial Park School is a real challenge. Yeah, it's very tight. But I'm expecting that it's going to be better than it is now with the project. That's my 2 cents. Rich, do you have anything to add to that?
So as we go through this, it's one of the things that we've talked quite a bit about. Very familiar with the issues with both Memorial and the middle school in particular on the drop-off. As we go through this, and again, kind of reiterating, talking to the designers, we're really going to work on keeping the bus drop-off and the car drop-off separate, which is something that we really don't have today, which I think will really make an impact. The other thing, the way that the flow is going to go with the loop, it's going to allow the traffic to come in, kind of go through, so it's not backing up on Division Street or Taunton Ave. They'll be able to kind of flow through. So do anticipate this being a lot better than what it is today.
Maybe the last thing I would add is that one of the things that we've learned with our site planning teams and ourselves over many, many years and many, many schools is flexibility and anticipating the future. So I think what we're starting to see here, by no means is this its final iteration, but we're seeing a lot of different opportunities. Many times we'll see that a school will kind of get into this, and then they'll maybe put the buses out back, or they'll put the cars out back, or something like that. So there's lots of different ways that this could be configured depending on how the administration actually wants to operate it. But I think we're seeing a lot of space here for that kind of flexibility.
And we're going to look again at start times. Currently, we start our kindergarten after our grades 1 through 4. It creates issues for us on the day-to-day level. We'd like to have them all on one start time, so we anticipate one start time for this building. Right now we have 2 start times going at Memorial Park, so that's sort of adding to the chaos. But we are going to look at start times in general before opening this, maybe adjusting start times for all the schools.
I just think because if it's within 15 minutes, kind of like it is right now, for the high school, middle school, and Memorial Park, just seeing what it's like on a daily basis, I think you need more time to get
Right.
the car. So I think that's
Right.
a big concern for
Right.
a lot of people.
No, that's a great point.
Part of our design team, there is also a traffic engineer and traffic analysis, so that happens kind of a little bit downstream from this, but it will definitely be a part of the planning process.
Any other questions?
I guess mine kind of goes with the traffic and the busing. So now when you're doing bus, you have a mile radius for the school. Has there been any thought about either encouraging more people to take the bus by more subsidies in I think it's $100 or whatever the fee is if you choose to bus and you're outside of that range? So now that we're all coming from different locations, has there been any thought to that?
We currently bus for 1.5 miles out, so we actually exceed what the state requires. We would actually be encouraging, we want kids to take the bus because we want them to come to school, but just to be clear, the district pays the vast majority of the cost of busing students. We spend about $750,000 a year in just regular ed transportation, and we collect in fees about $80,000. So the fees that we're collecting just barely scratch the surface of the cost, but we invest in transportation because we want the students to come to school and we want them to get there safely. So that philosophy won't change.
I think a lot of people probably don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a transportation audit done this year. We had an outside group from MSBA come in and do an actual audit of our entire transportation system. So we're just beginning to create an action plan from their recommendations. But one of their first recommendations is you'll save money if you bus fewer kids. And we say, okay, but that doesn't work in Rockland. So we're going to bus who we need to bus to make sure that all the kids get to school safely.
Good evening, Brian Porter. I have a pretty simple question. The construction schedule, I mean, if everything goes as planned right now, construction would start on, I think, January of '21. When would we anticipate the school be ready or be open?
It'd be a year and a half project, so it'll be open for the
August of '22.
August of '22, August the '22 school year.
Hi, my name is Rob Lynch. I'm just wondering if there's any consideration for the Rockland Daycare or preschool programs in this building, and also kind of a second question, kind of related, because I know there's other buildings in the town. Like, what happened to the other elementary schools that won't be used for these grades anymore?
Excellent. So your first question was about Rockland Daycare. So yes, there is consideration for Rockland Daycare, but I'm going to be very honest with you. Our priorities are, we're going to take our plan, our hope is, our vision for this is to take the Eston School and convert it into an early childhood center. And the Eston School would then host all 9 of our current kindergarten classrooms. We have 9 kindergarten classrooms, but we also would like to offer free full-day preschool to the town. We would like every 4-year-old in town to go to public school for free. I'm going to say that again. For all of you who have young children, that's a $20,000 bill that you won't have to pay. We would like to offer free full-day preschool to all Rockland residents at the Eston School. So we anticipate there being a full-day preschool there and kindergarten at the Eston School. That would free up the area here at the high school that is currently being used for preschool. That could possibly be used by the Rockland Daycare, but the Rockland Daycare is part of the Rockland Public Schools and will always be a part of our planning, in answer to your question, okay? And then what was the second part?
The other schools.
Yeah, great.
So the other part was the other elementary schools. So that is Memorial Park and Jefferson. So as part of this process, we are actually looking to take what is currently parkland in a field right now. So we're working with the state. We just passed that town meeting. It's Article 97 for a land transfer or a land swap, that the school would take the property that's being proposed for the new school. We would turn over to the park where the old Memorial Park is, and you'll see on that where it says a new practice field. It actually will be a new athletic field with a light package, and it will be an artificial turf. So that will turn into athletic fields. So that's what will happen to the Memorial Park School. It will be torn down, turn into a field. The Jefferson Parks, the Jefferson School, that entire piece of property, almost 6 acres, will also be turned over to the park. And as part of this project, the Jefferson School will be torn down. What's it, Sean, 12 inches of loom or 8 inches of loom?
Whatever the athletic, whatever the requirement.
Whatever the requirement is. So it will be loomed, and a grass field will be added there, along with there's a small baseball field, a basketball court, and a playground. Those things will remain. So that's what will happen to the 2 schools that will be closing. All right.
Hi, Jillian Green. I have a question regarding the new school and projected, future student, population, and also the student-teacher ratio. Are you looking to keep it about the same? Is that going to change as well? So it's a two-part question.
Yeah, no, part of the MSBA process is to look at census data and to project student enrollment. We are projecting pretty much consistent with a little bit of growth. That's what the census projects. So in answer to your question, yes, we're planning on keeping our class sizes about the same. The beauty of this 1 through 4 in one building is it really allows us to engineer classroom sizes to the student. So for example, right now we have grades K through 4 taking place in 3 different buildings, and their neighborhood, they're assigned by neighborhood. So depending on where you live is where you're assigned to school. That makes it challenging for us sometimes to keep consistent class sizes. I mean, among other things, but class sizes it can be a challenge. But our class sizes right now are actually very, very small. We're running, in some cases, classes of 17 and 18. Our average class size is pretty close to 20, 21. So we're running pretty low class sizes. The new building, the rooms are bigger. We're projecting average class sizes around the same, 22, 23. But again, what the beauty of having all the students in one building, what that allows us to do is, say we have a spike for some reason, or we have a drop-off for some reason, we're able to change class assignments and class sizes pretty easily. So it's not super comforting for a teacher out there, but the fact is, each teacher is about $70,000. And so if you're running classes of 17, 16, 15, you have to start thinking about, should I really have that teacher, or should I take my other classes and make them, say, classes of 21 instead of 25? So instead of 17. So it really allows us, this new design really allows us to have optimal class sizes throughout the district. It really helps us with that. Well, we'll get it right. We hope. We would love to see 200 in each grade. Our high school and middle school could handle that. So we would love to see that. And we are growing. We're very happy with enrollment.
Can I say something about that? Speaking of that, class sizes of 25, which our 5th grade currently has, and we are always looking for space, like for breakout rooms, different things like that. So if there is a big fluctuation, I already see us kind of outgrowing some of these beautiful buildings, but I guess I'm a little leery of the
Capacity for the middle school, I believe, is 800, and we currently have 753 students in that building. So 25 in a class can feel tight, but I'll tell you, this part of the country, we're a little spoiled with class sizes. There are places, even in Massachusetts, where there are 30 kids in a class, and it gets very, very crowded. But to have 20 students in a class is a real luxury. Our class size now is very, very good, but it's almost, there are times when I think it's too good. But does that mean that I'm willing to entertain 28 in a class with an aide? No. At this point, no. My professional opinion is that would be a very bad move. But I hear you. 25 in a classroom seems very crowded. But if you're talking with about what's going on in most school districts across the state and across the country, 25 is average. It really is. But knowing the size of the classrooms, and if you see what 25 kids in a classroom looks like and feels like, it's very crowded. Especially some of the middle school kids are getting giant. We have 6'2" 8th graders, for crying out loud. So they take up a lot of space. Yeah. It's a big class. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. If you think of any questions that you didn't ask tonight, please, they make a difference. We'd really love to hear your questions, or even the questions of your neighbors. So you have another.
So, yeah, so for town meeting, our quorum is 150, and this would be a 2/3 vote. So those are the two requirements. As far as the election, it's just over simple majority, whoever turns out. All right?
Good question.
But we will be reaching out to the cats for help get the community that's in school already. Get the word out.
Yeah, that'll really be dialing up in the late summer and into the fall. So with the vote, I know that we're trying to get the word out more and more all the time. We really didn't have concrete information to share with the public until about a month and a half or a month or so ago. We couldn't answer the big questions. People want to know, where's it going to be and how much is it going to cost? And we really didn't have those answers until about a month ago. So we're trying to get out and get information out to the public, but you'll begin to see a real push over the summer, and then obviously in the fall in September will be a real big push.